Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me for our usual evening live streams where we go over documentaries about Iran, and myself and a number of other Iranians in the chat talk about it and answer your questions. And of course, at the end of the documentary, we will provide a rating. I'm Goldie Kumari, and this is the evening, I guess, stream of The Goldie Show. And today's been a very, very busy day for me, surprisingly. Every day is busy, but today has been exceptionally busy. I did a podcast um, with someone named Michael. He goes by the name of, I guess his podcast is called Coptic Cave. He's Egyptian. So I did a podcast there, but before that, I actually went on Pierce Morgan. It was my first appearance on Pierce Morgan, and I was speaking about the Nigerian genocide. For those of you who follow me on my daily podcasts, at 12 noon Eastern, you've seen my episodes about that. But today I found a very interesting documentary. And the reason that I want to play that is, I'm hopeful that we can find a documentary that provides a fair and accurate depiction of who the Shah of Iran really was, what he was like, and also why we Iranians love him and want him to return. And that goes into the breaking news that came out today, right after I finished my daily show, where we can see two Iranians who are dressed in military outfits. This was with the Air Force, it seems. And they go into a subway station in Tehran. Tehran is the capital city of Iran, and they show the lion and sun flag of Iran. Guys, that is the same flag that you are seeing behind me. That is the flag of pre-Islamic Iran. That is the flag that we Iranians still consider to be our true and real flag. So let me just play this for you guys, because this is actually kind of a big deal. I mean, this is not something that you normally see in Iran. And I actually, in the 15 years that I have been um, monitoring news and videos and images coming out of occupied Iran, I have never ever seen anything like this. I have never seen two soldiers with the Atish, that's the military, two soldiers who are dressed in uniform. They have not covered up their identity, and they are proudly holding the pre-Islamic flag of Iran, the lion and sun flag. Let's just watch this, guys. I wonder if anyone can confirm the audio. I wonder, like, no one's really commented on the speaker that they have there, right? Because they have a speaker. Um, I almost get the sense that we're hearing the voice of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Shahanshah Aryamir, the late Shah of Iran. I feel like that's what we're hearing, but if you guys can, like, for those Iranians, if you can listen and confirm, I'd appreciate your feedback on that because no one has commented on the speaker. Everyone's commenting on the flag, but I have yet to hear anyone comment on the speaker and what the soldiers are broadcasting. So let's just try to see if you can listen to this. Okay, so maybe he's using his phone to broadcast into the microphone, but the audio is a little bit distorted, and I can't tell what he's saying. So there you go. That's the breaking news coming out. Now, unfortunately, I do have some bad news. These two brave soldiers have been arrested and detained. So their lives their lives are at risk. They are in imminent danger of being executed by the Islamic Republic. So I think it's very important to make sure that we keep this in the news. We keep the focus on this because these two people have basically risked their lives to do that. Again, this would be considered treason by the Islamic Republic. You know, the very act of holding the pre-Islamic flag of Iran would be considered a crime against Allah, and it's grounds for execution. So I know that these soldiers have been arrested. Um, so it's important we keep an eye on this and we keep this trending in social media. I'm also going to just block trolls. Like, I don't have time to deal with Islamist trolls in the chat right now. Okay, so with that, we are going to go to today's documentary. Let me pull that up for you guys here. So, oh, no, we're still gonna here. So today's documentary is called "The Mystery of the Last Shah of Iran" documentary. Now, of course, he's not the last Shah of Iran because we do currently have a Shah, Reza Shah II. He swore the succession oath after his father passed away. He swore that on October 30th, 1980, I believe, in Cairo. But anyways, so let's look at the description here. The mystery of the last Shah of Iran. Uncover the mystery of the last Shah of Iran's exile from his country during it wasn't the Iranian Revolution, it was the Islamic Revolution. I hate when they call it the Iranian Revolution because there's nothing Iranian about what happened in 1979. It was an Islamic takeover, and previous documentaries have shown that. So his illness, misdiagnosis, maltreatment, and eventual death, and its impact on the Middle East, United States, and the world. So this is a documentary from 2017. So Let's watch this and let's see how this goes. Let's see how accurate this documentary about Shahanshah Aryamir is going to be.
These are the last images that the Shah of Iran saw on the morning of January 16th, 1979, on board a military helicopter for what was to be his last trip to Mehrabad International Airport. Few people understood the rationale for his decision to leave the country at such a critical juncture. The King of Kings left his Pahlavi reign and went on to die 19 months later in exile due to medical complications. His departure changed the future history of the Middle East and the world. This is the medical story of that 19-month odyssey which brought about his death.
Oh, this is so hard, guys. This is hard to watch. I mean, it's like Groundhog Day, right? It's like just same horror over and over again. But geez.
The Shah's decline from power was a classical tragedy, but the kingship bestowed upon him overnight resembled a fairy tale. His father, Reza Shah, the founder of the Pahlavi dynasty, declared neutrality in World War II and denied Iran's use as a transport corridor for the Allies. This stand instigated the Anglo-Soviet invasion and subsequent division of Iran into spheres of influence. In September 1941, Reza Shah's
Isn't it wild? Switzerland declared neutrality and, the Anglo-Russian influence didn't go into Switzerland and take over, but, Iran declares neutrality and all of a sudden, they get involved, right? Like, do you see the
abdication, forced by the British, brought his 21-year-old son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, into power. The young Shah nearly lost his symbolic reign when in 1953, the Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, nationalized Iran's oil industry and demanded autonomy from Western colonial rule.
Okay, so that's not the reason why the Shah removed Mossadegh. Mossadegh wasn't actually that's again the communist Islamist lie. So it just seems like this person didn't actually do his research on this. Um, Mossadegh didn't nationalize the oil industry. The Shah was nationalizing the oil industry. Mossadegh was trying to give the oil industry to the Soviets because he was a Soviet asset and a Soviet puppet. So that's 100% incorrect there.
The Shah dismissed the Prime Minister, but Mossadegh refused to step aside. Fearing for his life, the young monarch fled Iran into exile in Rome. In his absence, the Iranian military, with support from the American and British intelligence services, conducted a covert operation to depose Mossadegh. Protests erupted on the streets of Tehran, leaving hundreds dead.
They don't. So he doesn't mention because we saw this in the other documentary about Mossadegh. These protests, these are not Iranians. These are the people who are part of the Tudeh party. Remember, the Tudeh party was founded in Moscow and it was funded by Moscow. So the people you're seeing on the streets here They are basically the Russian KGB assets there. Um, Switzerland, you can't take over. Exactly, right? So Major, you make a really good point. Switzerland remained neutral. No one went in and took over Switzerland or took control of Switzerland. But Iran wants to remain neutral, and all of a sudden that's a problem for the British and the Soviets, right? The double standard there, right? It's yeah.
Pro-Shah tank regiments stormed the capital and bombarded the prime minister's official residence. Mossadegh was arrested, and on August 22nd, 1953, the reluctant Shah returned to Iran.
I mean, do you see all the people cheering for the Shah? Like, no one wanted Mossadegh. Everyone knew Mossadegh was a traitor. Mossadegh was trying to suspend the constitution and consolidate power. So, of course, the military was going to step in, right? Like, people didn't want Mossadegh. They wanted their Shah.
Mohammad Reza Pahlavi began his reign a timid monarch. Yet on
Oh, Uzi, love from Greece, down with the IRGC. Thank you so much. I don't speak enough about Greek people, but I absolutely love Greek people. And I love Greek history. And one of the reasons that I love Greek history is because your historians play a very important role in preserving and maintaining the history of the Persian Empire. Because when the Arab Muslim invaders came to Persia in 650 AD, they burned down most of our libraries and our scrolls and whatever the case might be, right? And so we actually lost a lot of information when the Arab Muslim invaders came, but we are still able to know about our history, and we're still able to learn about the Persian Empire, the Persian civilization, because of the amazing Greek historians that wrote about us. And maybe there was beef 3,000 years ago, but I feel like today, um, Iranians and Greeks were very close. One of my best friends is Greek. I've actually visited Greece several times. Beautiful country, beautiful history, and amazing, amazing food and culture. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that.
October 26, 1967, 26 years into his reign, during an extravagant coronation ceremony, he designated himself the Shahanshah and crowned.
Okay, so again, he's missing the point here. So the Shah, so he even said, like, guys, okay, let's go back here because he just said 2 minutes ago that the Shah came to power in 1941. But he didn't actually have a coronation ceremony until 1967. And the reason he waited 26 years is because he said, I want to make sure that I don't assume the throne officially, or I don't coronate myself when Iran is poor. So he basically spent 26 years building up the country, combating illiteracy, building schools, building universities, building infrastructure. And only when Iran was finally on a path to modernization did he then coronate himself. So, I mean, people need to have the context here. No other monarch has waited 26 years before they have their coronation. It's not like he just randomly did this a second or third time. No, no, no. This is a coronation. All other monarchs pretty much have their coronation right away or within a year, but the Shah of Iran waited 26 years.
His third wife, Farah, as Shah Banu. This gave the Pahlavi dynasty exactly what it was longing for: an empress and heirs.
شاهنشاه ایران.
He pronounced himself the King of Kings.
As he
Oil
should.
income, combined with Western support, gave the Shah a false sense of comfort. Ironically, the Shah came to believe it his mission to change the world order which had placed him in power.
Guys, I just want to give you a little bit of context into this concept of King of Kings, right? So, the reason that he referred to himself as King of Kings is because, the concept of a king or a Shah is critical to Iranian culture, and it plays a really important role. And one of the things, so the Shah, when he's saying King of Kings, he's basically referring to King of the Iranian people. So it's as if he's saying that Iranian people are kings in their own right, and then he is the king of kings, right? So that's what it refers to in Iranian culture.
Power.
In the old days, you, British, and others who had influence here, you could change the prime ministers as you wished. Are you sorry for that time that you have lost? Do you want the same thing? To manipulate our internal affairs? We won't let you.
Ending 20 years of U.S. aid to Iran, in 1973, President Nixon gave the Shah full discretionary power to buy almost any American weapons he desired. Nonetheless, the king's appetite for power and arms would not be satiated.
If the United States limits the supply of American weapons, will you buy weapons elsewhere?
Definitely.
The U.S. had
So this guy is making it seem as if the Shah was this like warmonger. The Shah was literally building up the Iranian army in order to combat the threat of Islamism and communism, right? So this is weird. Like he's throwing all these points in here, but he's not providing any context. And I don't know, guys, but like I have to look up this guy, but from his voice, he sounds pretty young. Like he sounds like a young guy.
invested a great deal in making the Shah's Iranian military regime a front line against the spread of Soviet influence in the region, though the Shah had other agendas on his mind. In a race to transform Iran into a major world power within a single generation, he expedited a grand plan to modernize the country. By rallying Arab nations to join him in cutting output, world oil prices increased almost fivefold in 12 months. Iran's GNP expanded by the unsustainable rate of 50% per year. The Shah was unmoved by the negative impact of his policies on Western economies.
It's true that when we started to defend our interests, the price of commodities also rocketed up by several 100%. But this cannot continue. If you increase, we increase. If we increase, you increase. We have got to find some solution for this.
The oil revenue windfall financed modernization, liberalization, and expanded education of Iranian society. However, the political and intellectual awakening of the middle class meant the masses demanded more freedom from the Pahlavi government. Numerous assassinations.
Freedom, right? Guys, again, those are the communist agitators, right? Because um the Soviet bloc, right? Like Iran shared a border with the Soviet bloc. And so the Soviets were constantly trying to bring Iran under the Iron Curtain. And the Shah prevented that. So what the Soviets did is they created this party called the Tudeh Party. The Tudeh Party was created in Moscow. It was funded by the Soviets, and they basically indoctrinated a lot of young people, a lot of communists. And so all these riots that you're seeing, those aren't regular, normal Iranian people. Those are all the communists. Very similar to like today's Antifa, right? You know, all those like pro-socialist, Marxist, you know, whatever, young people who are going into your streets in Western countries and protesting against your governments and you know whatever. Literally the exact same thing. They, you know, it's that same communist mentality.
Attempts on the Shah did nothing to slow this trend. As the rapid modernization continued, poor infrastructure.
You know what? I like how he just literally he literally glosses over the fact, right? Where was this? Where was this? This he literally just glosses over the fact that they tried to assassinate the Shah of Iran, right? He doesn't talk about who tried to assassinate. He doesn't talk about why or when or how. Just, you know, despite the assassination attempts, the Shah continued. It was the communists who tried to assassinate the Shah, guys. These people are violent and savage. No one ever talks about that. By the way, the people who tried to assassinate the Shah, the same ones who supported Mossadegh. Keep that in mind.
Society. However, the political and intellectual awakening of the middle class meant the masses demanded more freedom from the Pahlavi government.
It wasn't the masses, guys. Again, it was the communists, right? Because at that point, communism was very it was very in style, right? And all these people who were educated, They were educated because of the Shah, because the Shah was investing in education. He was building 4,000 schools a year, not just schools for young people, but also schools for adults as well. He was also paying for Iranians to go get an education abroad in the United States, right? So he was paying and investing in the middle class to get educated. It's not like the middle class just randomly got educated. They got educated because of the Shah. And what did they do in return, guys? What did they do in return? They decided to overthrow the Shah because, communism was in power. So all of these people you see here, these are all the communists that ended up overthrowing the Shah. These are not the regular middle class. These are the ones that were educated because the Shah wanted to bring the country out of, poverty and turn Iran into a first world society. And, you know, these students unfortunately turned to communism.
Numerous assassination attempts on the Shah did nothing to slow this trend. As the rapid modernization continued, poor infrastructure, lack of planning, mismanagement, and corruption brought many of the Shah's plans to a halt. Average Iranians were disillusioned. The king had misjudged the oil markets, as well as his own power, as far as threatening to cancel long-standing oil contracts with Western consortiums coming due in 1979. Iran's economy was in shambles. The Pahlavi monarch was losing support at home and abroad. In 1977, the incoming US President, Jimmy Carter, put pressure on the Shah to improve the human rights situation in Iran. Opposition.
So again, the human rights situation in Iran was fine, okay? Like, I speak to my family on both sides, my mother's side, my father's side. There was no issue with human rights. The human rights violations, again, that's an Islamist communist narrative. The Shah had banned communism, rightfully so. Do you know which country just recently banned communism, guys? Czech Republic. The Czech Republic recently banned communism because they recognize it is an inherent threat to the stability of their democratic society. No one is accusing the Czech Republic of being a dictatorship. But the Shah, in his wisdom 50, 60 years ago, he recognized the threat of communism. He recognized the threat of Islamism. He banned both of those. And then those people were the ones who were complaining about, human rights violations, right? Because they felt that their human rights to blow up people in the name of communism or Islam was being violated by the Shah, and Jimmy Carter, being the idiot that he was, believed them. And I don't like the fact that this documentary is kind of glossing over that part.
Groups saw this as a sign to step up their pressure. They united behind a religious leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, who orchestrated the revolution from exile in France by broadcasting into Iran via.
Remember why he was exiled. He was initially the independent courts initially had his initial sentence was execution, right? Execution for attempting to assassinate. Again, Khomeini tried to assassinate the Shah. He was tried in an independent judicial court. He was found guilty. So his sentence was um, uh, he got a death sentence basically. And then the Shah, because he was such a graceful human being, he pardoned Khomeini, and instead of, giving the death sentence, like instead of allowing the death sentence to go through, the Shah said, no, 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 you know what? Let's just exile the man. Let's not murder him, right? That's how gracious and kind the Shah was. That's how much he tried to appease the communists and Islamists. What happened? This evil demon man, he should have been grateful for the fact, right? He should have been grateful for the fact that the Shah pardoned him and allowed him to live his life somewhere else. What did this evil demon Ayatollah man do? He said, you know what? I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue my Islamic jihad. And he literally continued. And that's when he started spreading lies about the Shah. Guys, take this as a lesson. Learn from the mistakes that we made as Iranians. Do not trust Islamists. Do not trust these evil demonic like clerics, because all they do is lie. They will never be satisfied until they have control of your countries and they impose Sharia law on you. This evil demon man didn't even show a single ounce of gratefulness for the fact that the Shah spared his life. Okay. The Shah's only mistake, guys, I will say this, I will always say this. Um, his only mistake is that he showed too much mercy and leniency to these Islamic terrorists, right? Because the Shah assumed that he could negotiate with them. The Shah assumed that he could deal with them like rational human beings. That's what the Shah did. And what did the Islamists do in return? They took over the country and they turned it into a 7th century Islamic hellhole governed by Sharia law, right? Keep that in mind, guys.
Western media outlets. Iran was overwhelmed by strikes and riots. The Shah made concessions to the opposition by arresting and imprisoning some of his main supporters, but the protests only grew louder. President Carter sent in NATO commander, 4-star General Robert Heuser, to ensure the Iranian military stood down, paving the way for the king to leave the country and Khomeini to take his place. But what influenced the Shah to defy his U.S. masters? And what persuaded Western powers, mainly
This is, again, what U.S. masters did the Shah. Didn't he just literally say a few minutes ago that in 1973 the Shah became fully independent from the United States? So he just said that in 1973 the Shah was fully independent. Now he's once again portraying the Shah as like U.S. masters. This is very, very poorly done. This documentary is full of contradictions.
the United States, to abandon an old familiar friend in place of political Islam? The answers surprisingly start with the Shah's illness. The prevailing story, as told by the Queen in her book An Enduring Love, contends that the Shah's cancer was first discovered by the French doctors in 1974, who kept it a secret, even from the king, having only learned of his illness at the very end, sometime around 1977.
Well, there was a lot of secrecy as far, and even conspiracy of silence. Apparently when the Shah was on one of his vacations on the Isle of Kish water skiing, he noticed a lump in his upper left side. And I think he himself, I understand, thought it was the spleen.
The Shah shared his pain with his longtime confidant and trusted minister of court, Asadullah Alam.
یه شب ویکند علم از جزیره کیش به من تلفن کرد. شب یه ویکندی به خونه من تلفن کرد از جزیره کیش. گفت دکتر، من گفت دکتر من به تو احتیاج دارم. گفتم حالتون خوبه که من 7-8 روز پیش دیده بودمش که گفت نه برای من نیست ولی من به تو احتیاج دارم. علم تو تلفن به من اون شب گفت که تو باید بگی دوستای فرانسویت بیان.
In 1974, world-famous French cancer specialist Dr. Jean Bernard and his lab technician Dr. Georges Flandrin were secretly flown into Iran to examine the Shah.
Well, when the doctors in France, the specialists, were called, they were not told that they were going to see the Shah. They thought they were being called to see the court minister, an aide to the Shah.
سر نهار به من گفتن آره برای اعلیحضرت بود، ما معاینش کردیم، چیزی پیدا نکردیم، خیلی سر حال اعلیحضرت شما، خیلی مرد قوی، حالش هم خب سوابق مالاریا داشت. من فقط از فلاندران خواهش کردم یه خونی بگیره که بریم پاریس، رو مطالعه دقیق‌تری هم می‌کنیم.
Dr. Georges Flandrin, the Queen's medical voice on the Shah's illness, who throughout her book recounts his story via letters he supposedly sent to his mentor, Dr. Jean Bernard, claims that both French doctors made their diagnosis after looking at the Shah's blood samples under a microscope inside the marble-tiled bathroom of the palace.
After they did some blood tests, they determined it was a chronic lymphatic leukemia. But the people surrounding the Shah, the court minister, his physicians, other officials, felt that it would not be wise to disclose it at that time, even to the Shah. And they told the Shah that not that he had leukemia, which is a form of cancer of the blood, but that he had a disease called Waldenstrom's disease.
Dr. Flandrin further claims that General Ayadi, the Shah's enigmatic and obscure personal physician who was entrusted with all of his medical decisions, requested that the French doctors refer to the Shah's cancer as Waldenstrom's so that the Shah would not become alarmed at the diagnosis.
مزخرف نوشته ابدا هم چیزی نیست چون خود فلادران میدونه که هم چیزی نیست ولی به چه دلیلی اینو نوشته نمیدونم در چیزی که می‌خواستیم نگیم همینو گفتیم تهال اعلیحضرت همایونی بزرگ شده برای که شما سوابق مالاریا دارید این تشخیص رو بهش دادیم که خیال نکنه سرطان داره.
A quick lookup of the word Waldenstrom's in any dictionary would have confirmed it as a type of cancer. It seems unlikely that they could have used such a trick to hide the illness from the Shah.
Now, I don't know what was in the Shah's mind. He might have suspected that he had something more serious, but he did not let on. And it was agreed by all that the public should not know anything.
But the Shah did see other doctors before the French examined him, and he knew about his illness. Why else would he specifically seek the services of a cancer specialist?
من اینو خودم حقیقتا عین واقعیتی که آقای پروفسور فلینگر در 1968 اینو دیده بود و این موضوع رو به من گفت.
With a great love for skiing, the Shah made regular winter trips to Switzerland and Austria. He would also use these trips as an opportunity for secret annual visits with his primary doctor for checkups.
ماه مارس آمدن یه جوری می اومدن که چند روزی هم میرفتن به سوئیس و بعد از اونجا به تهران برسن که برای 9 روز در تهران باشن. اعلیحضرت آمدن و رفتیم به بیمارستان پروفسور فلینگر و آقای پروفسور فلینگر البته معایناتی کردن بعد آمدن بیرون از اتاق معاینات و با اعلیحضرت رفتن به یه اتاق دیگه که اونجا من خوندم که بالا در نوشته بود ایزوتوپن.
At the time, radioisotope technology in nuclear medicine used radiation to provide diagnostic information about specific organs or to treat various medical conditions, particularly cancer.
این یک طبیب خیلی معروف وین بود که اگر یک کسی از رؤسای ممالک میخواست بره اونجا یا هر کس مهمی میخواست بره یه طبیب معتبر رو ببینه باید بره پیش فلینگر که البته هر کسی رو با آسونی قبول نمیکرد و شاه ما میدونستیم که پیش فلینگر چکاپ میکنه هر سال چکاپ سالانه رو میره پیش فلینگر میکنه اینم میدونستیم عیاده میبره پیش فلینگر.
بعد از انقلاب من رفتم بعد از فوت اعلیحضرت من رفته بودم اونجا برای اینکه خودم یه عمل جراحی کوچیکی داشتم و بعدم فلینگرم پیش رفتم فلینگرم خیلی اظهار ناراحتی کرد البته از این جریان و بعد گفت که اعلیحضرت وقتی که آمدن در همون 1968 من متوجه شدم که ممکن هستش که یک ناراحتی به وجود بیاد من اعلیحضرت هیچی نگفتم ولی به دو عیادی وقتی آمدم بیرون به عیادی گفتم که خوبه که اعلیحضرت بیشتر تحت معاینه باشن چی کشف کرده بود ایشون که اونای دیگه در اون موقع کشف نکردن یا اینکه با عیادی پشت و گوش انداخت موضوع رو.
On behalf of the Shah Banu, myself, and the Iranian people, I welcome.
Why does it matter when the Shah got sick? As the cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, his mortality embodied the breakdown of American strategy for the future of the region.
Iran, because of the great leadership
What a
of the
traitor.
Shah, is an island of stability.
I just want to say, I hope Jimmy Carter is burning in hell.
In one of the more troubled areas of the world.
He chose
What
to
a
treat
backstabber.
his own illness as a state secret. He kept it secret from his wife, from his own family. For 6 years, he had cancer. He did not tell his twin sister, Princess Ashraf, and he certainly didn't tell the United States. In fact, at one point, he misled American doctors who were examining his mother and asked about the family medical history.
He was under the opinion that Iranians, once they learn about his illness, would not be supportive of him as before.
The interesting part of
I have to say, guys, so far, I am actually pretty happy with the people um, that we're seeing in this documentary. I mean, the introductory part, I didn't like that. You know, it was a usual like communist sort of Islamist propaganda narrative. Just these points here and there put out without context. But now that we've gone into speaking about the Shah's illness, which is something that we don't really hear about very often. Um, I actually like the fact that the documentary is actually referencing the book that Her Imperial Highness Shah Banu Pahlavi wrote, and I actually like the people that are speaking here because these are all people who were involved prior to the Islamic Revolution, right? So we're not hearing from communists or jihadis necessarily. We're hearing from like Iranians who are very familiar with the Shah, and I actually do like that because we don't hear these sorts of voices very often.
Understanding the psychology of the alpha person is that for every alpha person, there are people who really are, in a sense, conspiring against him. You can't have a leader without people wanting to be in his leadership position. And when a person starts to feel the
Oh, is my stream down? Oh, guys. Do you think it'll come back up? All right, let's see if it's going to come back here. Um, oh, I see myself. I see myself. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to try and continue this. Yeah, it's always a challenge. It's always a challenge, right? To play this, and I kind of have to do it bit by bit. So, yeah, all right, guys, let's continue.
weaknesses, when they start to feel things going wrong that they can't
You know what it is? I usually find that it's the background music sometimes. Like it's just YouTube is so strict about these things.
control. And by the way, control is an essential aspect of being an alpha person.
The man was getting sicker and sicker. I had a gentleman agreement with my beloved king. We never should lie to each other. I said to him, why did you ever didn't tell me? The answer was, if I have told you, you would have gone public. I said, 100%, I would. Your people have to know what you have. So they would have a sympathy for you. They would cry blood for you.
Those days, I had seen some symptoms of something.
I really like the fact that this guy, I think he was one of the ministers of the Shah. I like the fact that he has the same flag behind him that I do, right? Like, guys, that's the flag of the good guys right there, the lion and sun flag. That's the flag that we want.
Think unusual is going on.
The Queen recalls the unexpected decision by the Shah to involve her and their elder son, the Crown Prince, in meetings with the Prime Minister, Parliament, and chiefs of armed forces. She specifically mentions a visit in 1975 by the French president who expresses his surprise at the speed of growth in Iran.
Is the live down again? I'm having issues on YouTube, guys. Like this is just you know what it is? I think it's the background music. I think it's the background music, right? The background music maybe seems to be triggering YouTube or something, but let's see if it comes back. All right. This is incredibly frustrating, guys. Let's see if we come back. I mean, I'm literally streaming this documentary from YouTube. Like this documentary is available on YouTube. That's what's very strange for me. Um, like, let's see if we can get this back online on YouTube. Wow. Oh, I think I'm back. Okay, I'm back on YouTube. Okay. All right. I am, ooh, I don't know what to do, guys. Should I continue or should I leave the rest for another night? Because with the other documentary, um, we had to do it in two, and I feel like once. Oh wow, Raider, thank you so much. I appreciate your support, Raider. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for joining the channel. Um, all right, guys, like I definitely want to continue. Let's see how long we can go because with the previous documentary, um, we had to do it in two parts, and I feel like once the documentary gets flagged, right? Once I get flagged with these, fake violations, it keeps on going down. So, I don't know. I mean, I will continue. I will continue. And if it goes down again, then maybe I might like fast forward a little bit here. Or maybe I should just try pausing and talking more in between. I don't know, but let's see. I will probably have to do this live stream in two parts.
The Shah simply replies, "My problem is that I haven't enough time."
Since his illness, things change. What we saw,
I have a feeling it's the music, guys. I have a feeling it's the background music.
which was unbelievable, was a man who was ordering arrest and imprisonment of some of the most loyal people to him.
What? Did he just say this? Did he just say the Shah was ordering the arrest and imprisonment of people loyal to him? That's a complete lie.
Until Mr. Alam was alive, they couldn't do much. But after he died and the Shah became alone, the Queen's influence increased tremendously.
On April 14, 1978, less than a year before the Iranian Revolution, Asadullah Alam, the Shah's most trusted advisor and friend, passed away. The cause of his death, ironically, was cancer of the blood. Alam's death, particularly dying of the same illness, immensely weakened the Shah.
Play it at 1.5 speed. I don't know if I can do that this way. Let me see. You want me to play it at 1.5 speed? Okay. Let me try something here. 18, 19. Okay, guys. Let me see here.